Hello and welcome to Solving Addition Equations, where we are going to solve each of the addition equations that I give to you. Now, when we go to solve these addition equations, we are going to solve them algebraically. For each of the ones that I give you, they are more straightforward, and they're not made to be too difficult. This is done so that we can focus on the algebra. We will be solving these algebraically and not only getting the answer, but proving the answer is the correct answer. When you solve these equations, you solve them algebraically so that even though it is a little more work now to do all of the algebra work, once you learn how to solve things algebraically, all equations will eventually be solved the same way. Then, no matter how complicated I try to make an equation, you would still be able to solve all the equations I give you because they all follow the same process. In this problem, we have x plus 10 equals 24. And please remember that an equation is a math sentence that has an equal sign. Since this sentence has an equal sign, it's an equation. Now, to solve equations, we're always going to start the same way. We are first going to identify the variable, the letter. In problem number 1, the variable is an x. So I'm going to write down an x. And then I need to look and see what is happening to the x. In this problem, the x is adding 10. So I'm going to write down that it is adding 10. You'll notice I write it a little bit off to the side, and that is because after writing what is happening to the x, I'm going to write the inverse of that. Now, the inverse of adding 10 is subtracting 10. So to solve this problem, my variable is an x, the x is adding 10, and I'm going to do the inverse of adding 10, which is subtracting 10. It'll look like this. Underneath the plus 10, I will write minus 10. My equal sign comes straight down, and there's a rule, it's really called the reflexive property, but I like to say whatever you do to one side, which in this case is minus 10, you have to do to the other. So I will minus 10 on the other side. My equal sign comes straight down. You want that to come straight down so that you have a clear left and right side of your equation. And where I have 10 minus 10, that is 0. And x plus 0 is x. You don't have to write 0 because when something happens every time the same way in mathematics, you are allowed to take a little bit of a shortcut. Our shortcut is to just cross out the 10s. On the right side, we have 24 minus 10 is 14. And then you box in your final answer, and we're done. The solution is 14 because 14 plus 10 is 24. Problem number 2, we will start the same way. Now, if you're not really following after problem 1, please do not worry. It's going to take 2 or 3 problems of watching and then a couple problems doing on your own before you truly get comfortable doing these problems. So, to do problem number 2, you first identify the variable. The variable is a y. You then identify what is happening to the variable. The variable y is adding a negative 9. Now, I'm not going to write adding negative 9. You're only allowed to write one symbol when doing this. So I'm going to write the one that says that the 9 is decreasing. So I'll write negative 9. And the inverse or opposite of negative 9 is a positive or plus 9. So our variable is a y. The y is adding a negative 9, and the inverse of a negative 9 is a positive 9. So underneath the negative 9, my equal signs will come straight down. Sometimes I like to write them first to keep myself centered. Left side and right side, and the equal signs come straight down, making two distinct sides. So underneath the negative 9, I'll write positive or plus 9. The 9s will cancel out because negative 9 plus positive 9 is 0, and 0 plus y is y on the left side. On the right side, well, whatever I do to one side, I have to do the other. So I'll do a plus 9. 14 plus 9 is 23. So y is equal to 23. And I know this is the answer because if I try to check, 23 plus negative 9 is 14. Now, there is something I want to point out when doing these problems, because I've talked about the opposite being plus and minus, and also positive and negative, and that can get confusing. So, to make all algebra equations done the same way, I'm going to, from now on, think of this equality property step, the second step here, as always being an addition problem. This is because when I have negatives involved, I always want to add. If I have a subtraction sign with negatives, I would need to change the subtraction sign to an addition sign and change the sign of the number after it. I would like to avoid that if I can. It just adds too many steps. So when I go to solve my equations from now on, this line is always addition. So it is 10 plus negative 10. 10 plus negative 10 is still 0. It is negative 9 plus positive 9, which is still 0. When I go to do my third problem, thinking of that line as being addition will make this problem no more difficult than the first two. So first we identify the variable. It is a y. Sorry, no, it's not. It's an x. Sorry about that, but you always have to double check what you're doing. The variable is an x. And what is happening to the x? It is adding 7. I'll put plus 7. And then I have to identify what is the inverse of adding 7, which is negative 7. So to solve this problem, we have an x, it's right there. I'll make my equal signs come straight down. And the inverse of adding 7 is a negative 7. So underneath 7, I'll put negative 7. Remember, this line will always be addition. And 7 plus negative 7 is 0. You can just cross them out. X plus 0 is x. On the left side, whatever I do to one side, which is adding a negative 7, I have to do to the other, which is adding a negative 7. And now we have a negative 15 plus a negative 7. And the rules for adding integers are when the signs are the same, you add them. 15 plus 7 is 22. The signs are the same, you add them and keep the sign. So the answer is negative 22 is equal to x. So when doing these problems, please remember the steps we followed. Step 1, find the number that is being added to the variable. In this case, it was 10. In this case, it was negative 9. In this case, it was 7. Step 2, add its opposite number to both sides. The opposite number for 10 was negative 10, for negative 9 was positive 9, and for positive 7 was negative 7. Then solve. 24 plus negative 10 is 14, 14 plus 9 is 23, and negative 15 plus negative 7 is negative 22. And that is how you solve addition equations. Thank you.